Hey, it's Joe Piscopo. I'm on Cop Talk. You see, the guys were going to introduce me, but I want to introduce myself because it's WABC radio, and I do Sundays with Sinatra. Just last night I was with over there in the studio, but I'm home, so I wanted to I wanted to let everybody know how much I appreciate the New York Police Department. I got my hat on, as you can see, coming from the greatest country in the world, the United States of America. We don't care what they say. We don't care what they're protesting. We support what we believe in. And so with the co-hosts are Joe Diamond, but with respect to his service to this great city, Ed Mamet is actually the host. Thanks, guys. It's just a habit. I got to take over because I just got out of there last night, and I thought I was doing Sundays with Sinatra for a moment.
Well, that's just fine.
Captain, how are you?
That's fine, you taking over. It makes it easier for us. I'm fine. Thank you, Joe. Joe, you've always been a passionate supporter of the cops and veterans and at-risk kids. Speak about how you became so passionate about that.
It's interesting. I was, long story short, I was in Hollywood. I was in an earthquake, that 94 Northridge earthquake, and I saw so many people being harmed. My goodness gracious, it was just devastating to watch. People were killed. And I said, well, I didn't know how to get back, because I always say I'm not in the A list or the B list or the wait list in Hollywood, man. And I didn't know how to get back to that community. But I saw the people that got hurt the most were the people who needed help the most, and in Los Angeles. So I came back to Jersey and went to Newark, and I met a man by the name of Ray Chambers, who, and everybody knows, we call him St. Raymond in Newark, and he helped build Newark back after the riots and was involved with helping at-risk children, in the stressed areas of Newark. And then, so I went in on the kind of on the direction of Ray, and I was working out at the time. And Ray said, maybe you should put a gym at Jersey Joe's Gym in Newark, New Jersey, at the Boys and Girls Club, the Broadway unit, which was right down the street where my father was brought up on Mount Prospect Avenue in Newark, right? And my mom was born there. I said, well, how do we do it? So Mr. Chambers enlightened me like he enlightened so many other people. And I started giving back. And I saw in these kids, and you know what, Captain? I went to the Newark Detention Center. The cops in Newark took me around, and they showed me the problems of the day. Newark is doing great now. Back then, it was the carjacking days. It was tough. And I went to the Newark Detention Center, and I saw a kid in an orange jumpsuit, and he was, he was cuffed and had shackles on his ankles. And he goes, hey, Mr. Piscopo, how are you? Because he knew me from the neighborhood. And I'm going I said, hey, how you doing? I said, how old are you? He's 15 years old. And I said, what are you in here for? And he goes, homicide. And he said homicide like I would have said, I got in a fight at school. We took some hubcap. Homicide. Hey, Captain, you dealt with it every day. I don't know how the NYPD does it, God bless. I don't know how the Newark Police Department does it every day. But I got to tell you, that turned me around, because there but for the grace of God go all of us. So I got hooked into helping these kids. I got them in the gym. I got the parents into the gym working with the kids. And there was a police department right across the street. I got the cops in the gym. And I was friends with Geraldo. Geraldo had his show then. That was like the #1 talk show. Sure. And Geraldo put me on with the kids for the Boys and Girls Club, with the Newark Police. And I'll tell you what, Newark is, I don't know, I was just a little foot soldier, but I was trying. So I saw that you could make a difference, and we can make a difference. So that's what kind of sucked me in when I came back to Jersey. I had some good friends, mentors of mine that enlightened me how to help out the at-risk community.
I've heard you on the radio before talk about your close relationship with the Jewish people. And I think at this time, with all the anti-Semitic acts taking place, your voice is extremely important, and you're quite passionate about it. So could you tell us how you got involved in that?
Yeah, my buddies down the shore. I was brought up with all the Jewish guys down the shore, man. I talk about on the radio with we're down the shore and in Jersey, and little houses, post-World War II cottages. And we were down there, the Italians down there, the Irish down there. It was like the neighborhood, and this ain't fancy schmancy Jersey Shore. This is like, old school, man. Like just the little tiny cottages. And then next to me was my buddy David from Philly. And it was a whole Jewish family, relatives in the Holocaust. I'm a kid. I'm going, what's the Holocaust? And they enlightened me as a young kid about the Holocaust. I said, you have relatives? Where are they now? They were killed. I said, what? Tell me that again. What happened? Because they don't teach you that in school. And I go, oh no, they were killed. I said, why would they kill? What during the Second World War? Then my father was in the Second World War, so he told me the whole history of the Second World War and the horror that the Jews went through. And then my buddy, even further down, Michael, who has been on my show, just got back from Israel. Michael told me about Israel. He told me he has allegiance to Israel. He told me, I saw his older brother, Johnny. We were all surfers down the shore, I'd worked on a garbage truck. They worked at the produce stand. It was a great time, summertime, with love to my parents for giving us that opportunity. But then Michael, he would always tell me about how Israel is struggling to exist, and it started in 1940. I got the whole history, and his brother went and fought in the Israeli army, So it was, and then this, I would go over to the house, Ed. I'd go to the house, and they were kind of orthodox, like no electricity on Saturday, right? And then if I come in with an ice cream cone, the guys who eat the hamburger, you couldn't sit between them, So I learned all of that and admired that it was a commitment and a proud commitment to a great heritage. And I learned it at a very young age. Well, now I see it's happening right now. And I talk to my buddies. And I'll tell you what, I don't want to make it political, but I ride them. I go, man, don't blame me who I vote for, because the guys you vote for caused all this. I said, come on, So it's a great, what too, what I said on the radio this morning on AM 970, I said, it's like when the Jewish folks came into these educational institutions, built them up like Columbia. It was the Jewish community that did that.
Of course.
They were the best students. They came in and they didn't say, if you don't believe in my way of life, if you're not Orthodox, if you don't believe in my religion, I'm going to kill you. If you don't believe in me, I don't want anything to do with you. We're going to come after you. They just assimilated into this great country. There's such a strong fabric into the foundation of America, the way the Italian Americans are, the way the Irish Americans are, and it's like, what are they doing at colleges? Who's doing this, So they don't understand. The more they go after our Jewish brothers and sisters, the more they go after Israel, the stronger they are going to be, and they will survive forever. There will never be the destruction of Israel. They're stronger than ever right now.
Yes, and excuse me. As your passion for the Jewish people is very, very important. As a Jewish person myself, I appreciate it very much, and I commend you for it. And I hope you keep up your support of the Jewish people. That's
well. I have a sweet spot for Jewish girls too, from New York. Thanks for asking.
And
who doesn't?
And your upbringing sounds very much like mine, but in reverse. Most of my friends were Italian.
So true, though, man.
Most of my friends in Brooklyn were Italian, and we had a token Irish guy.
Yeah.
And so I learned at a young age about cheese and red sauce and pasta. So we have a similar upbringing. And my father also was in the Army, World War II.
The Second World War. Where was he stationed? Do you know?
He only did about a year. He didn't go overseas. He got out on hardship, so he came back after a year.
Interesting, yeah. Because for Pop, that's another thing too. Is and Joe, jump in. I'm sorry, I know you're sitting in. I don't want to be. You get me blabbing about this stuff, Captain. I could talk forever about it, like we do. And I just wanted to come on this show.
That's why we brought you on. This is great.
Hey, oh, thanks, man. But it's like, when Pop went into the service, and then who did we go at war with? Italy. So his parents, my father, my grandparents, came from Italy to America. Now, they didn't come in with an Italian flag. They didn't come in saying, oh, you got to be true to Italy. My father went to fight in Italy against the Italians and the Germans for the United States of America. Think about that, how they did that. Think about they go down. Now everybody comes into the country with the flag of their own country. Well, go back to the freaking country. If you don't want to come in here. I think of my grandparents. They worked so hard to learn the language. The English language is very tough to learn, and they didn't get a debit card. They didn't get expenses. They didn't get a hotel room. Oh, my guys, when my grandparents went through, and then they have a son, and my son goes to fight the Second World War, and my dad's brother, Uncle Benny, worked with Enrico Fermi on the nuclear project.
Really?
He was a genius, literally a genius. I inherited none of it, by the way, but he was a genius. He was like a Mensa genius, and he developed the nuclear program for the United States.
Kidding.
Enrico Fermi. So they gave back, but to this country, you know. And I know the Jewish community is the same way, and everybody really that has come over pretty much is like, it's just changing nowadays. I don't know how we became the bad guys. I don't know.
The melting pot is melting down. This is a problem.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
You know, ironically, my father, although he was stationed, he didn't go overseas. One of his jobs was to interrogate the German prisoners of war that were brought here, and he interrogated them in Yiddish.
What?
Can you imagine an SS prisoner being interrogated by a Jew in Yiddish? Because Yiddish is very close to German, and you can get by. So I thought I'd tell you that it's an anecdote. Joe has a question for you.
Yeah.
No, actually, in terms of your support for cops, so a few years ago you did that series for law enforcement against drugs for LEAD, right? You were doing a police officer you should know. I thought that was great. We also, just the fact that you were spotlighting cops who were, making a difference in the war against drugs. Are you going to do more of those? I'd love to see.
Yeah, we have a big LEAD conference in Orlando. Law enforcement against drugs, started by Nick DeMoro, former cop. Now he's like a community kind of guy where he's on the council, in his town. And this is international. This is important. And we invite everybody to go to leaddrugs.org. Leaddrugs.org. Now, Nick and if I could plug Crosstown, because what's great about WABC and AM 970 with John Katzimatidis and Margot, and Mr. Crowley, Joe, like you were talking about before we went on the air, we're all together on this. And 12 noon on Saturdays, Nick DeMoro's got a great show called Battling Drugs and Violence with the LEAD guy. So what they try to do, like what I told you about what I did in Newark, bringing the police into the Boys and Girls Club, Nick has done it. He's got the cops in the school. You go in with LEAD, and if anybody's listening that's in education, the curriculum is great because you bring the police in uniform, and they talk to the kids, and they have a nice camaraderie, and it builds a great synergy between the police and the children to stop bullying, to stop violence, to stop drug addiction, and then the kids graduate. So when you graduate, there's a LEAD car with all the decals on it that comes up. They get a certificate. Great organization, international. When I go down, I'll talk to people from the Congo. I was in Vegas with Sergeant Joe Imperatrice from Blue Lives Matter.
We know Joe, yeah.
Yeah. And we went down to Vegas, Clark County, because the schools needed some help out there. Thank you for mentioning that. Law enforcement against drugs. It should be in every school. It really should.
Hey, Joe, on your show, that you've spoken bluntly about the crazy pro-Hamas people and what's going on at Columbia and how the NYPD is dealing with them. Can you tell us more about that, your position? Yeah,
I think the only way that you could turn New York around, and I think Mayor Adams knows this, is this is what you have to do, if I may, because it's not pro-Palestinian, and the kids don't understand. These are what they call, I guess, 501c4 groups. They're paid for, and in my opinion, and I think in opinion of a lot of other folks, it's a concerted effort to kind of get into the education system. It's the Marxist playbook. I mean, does anybody see it?
It's the march to the institutions, right?
Oh my gosh, it's so obvious, and people and those poor kids, they're like little wimpy kids, and they wear the Palestinian Yasser Arafat makeup. They don't. Do you know what happened on October 7th? There was a second Holocaust. There was a second Holocaust in 2024 in America, in the world. And in Israel, for Hamas to go into Israel like that, to be emboldened to do that is inexcusable. And when they start acting up in New York, I'm telling you, I know how to do it, because you know how we did it? I was telling you about how I worked in Newark. I saw how they turned Newark around. The Newark Police Department, stellar organization under Anthony Ambrose at the time, and they have a great relationship with the community. And then I went to Camden after that, when at the time Camden was the most dangerous city in America.
Yeah,
and I went in there and we turned Camden around. You can do it. What Mayor Adams, respectfully, because he was a cop, and I got to respect that, agree with him or not, he's got to get us. This is what I'm thinking. Ed, Captain, see a blue behind him, a blanket of 1,000 police officers, men and women from the NYPD, one of the most elite law enforcement agencies in the world. And Eric Adams has to say, these are my men, these are my women. I told them, do what you got to do. Walk away from the microphone. That's what happened in Newark, New Jersey. And, there's always going to be a problem. There's going to be some kind of somebody's maybe a little too aggressive. Let the police do what they do. Hand it off to them. The whole city will get back to normal. It's as simple as that. And everybody knows it. They'll call my radio show. The only people that don't know it are those wackos on the city council. No disrespect intended, of course. You
mean like Tiffany Caban, our scholar, our Marxist scholar in chief? Yeah. Oh, listen, I wanted to take a quick second to thank Good Greek Moving for sponsoring this podcast. Good Greek Moving and Storage has been named National Mover of the Year and the most referred moving company in the U.S. Spiro Georgiadakis, CEO and founder, was also a police officer, so he knows the importance of safety and the risks of moving. All of his movers are screened and drug tested to ensure your safety. His movers are professionally trained at the Good Greek Academy to learn how to wrap, pack, unpack, load, and unload your precious belongings for a safe trip to your home. Good Greek is your total relocation company that will help you find a home, sell a home, get your insurance, transport your car, take your junk, and move you. They are your one-stop shop of all your relocation needs. Good Greek Moving and Storage is also the official movers of 18 college and major league sports teams in the state of Florida. So whether it is a move across town or across the country, trust America's best mover, Good Greek. Schedule your move today at goodgreek.com.
Wait, very good, Joe. Very well done,
my virgin on-air read. Thank you, Joe.
Wait. What's the name of the company again? Listen, we love our advertisers. We love the advertisers. They're keeping us going. People are watching. They're going to pick this up because these podcasts go everywhere. This is New York. This is New York as New York gets, man. They think it's all glamour and glitz. Not us. Hey, so what? Good Greek?
Good Greek Moving, yes.
Well, that's because John Catsimatidis owns the station, of course. He's got to get a Greek guy in there.
You see a connection there? I don't know, Joe.
You think a little bit?
So quick things. I know we're going to have to wrap up fast, but favorite Springsteen song of all time? Just changing gears here.
Oh, man. Racing in the Streets, maybe?
Favorite Sinatra song?
Yeah. I hate to say, I got to say Summer Wind.
Okay.
Forgive me. The best vocal, and the coolest thing was when I went to see Bruce years ago, one of his summer tours, he came out, the lights went down at MetLife Stadium. It might have been before at MetLife, in the old stadium. And who does he put up? He played Frank Sinatra singing The Summer Wind as the East Street Band came out. It was so cool. That was pretty cool.
Hey, Joe,
Jersey.
Joe, getting back to Columbia, I've had a lot of experience with riots. I came into the police department in 1959, so I'm pretty ancient. So I went through the Harlem riots of 1964, the Bedford-Stuyvesant riots of the same year. In March of this is where history repeats. In March of '68, Martin Luther King was assassinated. There was a riot.
Yeah.
But the following month, in April, I don't know if you recall, but there was a takeover of Columbia University, very much like what's going to happen now if they don't put their foot down. What happened then is it started out like it did today, like the last few days, but the school administration didn't do anything. And the next thing you know, the students took over the entire school. And over a week went by, and then finally they called in the police. And what happened is when the police moved in, one of my close friends was seriously injured. One of the kids jumped out a window, landed on his back, broke his back, and for the rest of his life he suffered terribly, and he recently died. And then the following riots took place during the Vietnam demonstrations. We had them, and then we had the blackout of '77. So I have a lot of experience in that, and I can tell you one thing: the way you deal with these things is a massive show of force. You show up with an intimidating force, and you scare the hell out of them, and you arrest them if you have to, and let them spend the night in jail. They'll never do it again. The problem we have now is there's no bail. And they, this is why they're doing it again. They were arrested the other day. Yeah. They got out and they're back.
Yeah. It was tougher for you, and thank you for your service, Captain. We do appreciate that. But I got to tell you, nowadays, back then it was civil rights, and you could almost understand it. I mean, you don't understand the violence ever, but there was a mission. It was civil rights. It was voting rights. Think about that in our lifetime, Ed. Joe, you're younger. I mean. But I remember that, man. And but now it's just supporting a terrorist group. So you're, and then you know what? And you could do it listen, it's all about if Alvin Bragg and my old friend Tish James, if they just would stop with the obsession of trying to take down politicians and really concentrate on what's happening in the streets, oh, the city would be so much better off. I don't know who these judges are. I don't know who these DAs are. The attorney general. What are they doing? Look at the street. 2 cops killed in Syracuse. 2 cops in Syracuse. And Governor Hochul went up. I haven't heard anything out of the attorney general's office. You really got to make a consequence. To your point, Ed, you got to, if there's no consequence, this will continue to happen. I don't know who's directing these people, but I'm telling you, I think you got to get to as we know, you got to go to Albany and you got to talk to Stuart Cousins. You got to go to Albany. You got to talk to Carl Hastie. You got to have a consequence for a crime. Otherwise, nothing will settle down in New York. And you know what's scary? Every single person watching this, every single person that listens to my show on AM 970, every single person knows how to stop the problems in New York. Exactly what you just said. And you know what? I don't know why the politicians, they're obsessed with going after political takedowns. They're obsessed with letting criminals back out on the street. I can't believe, no one can believe it. And I'm speaking for millions and millions of Americans. I know it's all common sense.
Well, Joe, let me pull back a little bit, like on a more metaphysical level. So you've led a very storied life, and you've lived through history now. You see how politics is changing. Do you ever get the feeling that we're all in some kind of drama that seems to be unfolding? Not necessarily a good one, but we're in something.
Yeah, you know what? The drag about doing morning radio, and I love Sid. But shout out to my buddy Sid. Sydney over there does a great show and a great guy. But we do AM 970. 4 hours every morning. You have to layer back the facts. You got to layer back and make sure you triple check. I'm with Al Gattulo and Joe Sibilia and Debbie Duhame over across downtown. And if you got to check it out, as I do that, I'm sad to tell you, this is all a concerted effort. It's all a concerted effort. And you see it, because if you don't see that, then you really might not be the brightest guy in the block. But I mean, the fact that this guy's in the White House, the fact that you got all law enforcement in New York, not law enforcement, all the judicial system in New York is like abusing law enforcement. The judicial system in New York is broken. And that's what you got to fix. But it's a concerted effort, I think, for power and control. And that, sadly, is all it is.
So, Joe, you mentioned Pat Brosnan the other day on one of your radio shows. I heard about.
Great guy.
Right. He's a retired New York detective. He was talking also about what's going on at Columbia. And I thought the conversation was very good, where he said that the police acted, I think he used the word with military precision. And that's what we need to take control of these situations. And you mentioned Adams before. Well, let me tell you something. Adams claims that he spent 22 years in the police department, which is not true. He spent 11 years in the transit police, which was a separate agency. And when it merged with the New York City Police Department, he came over as a sergeant, and he spent another year. So his total time was 22 years, but only half in the PD. And he is a great disappointment to myself and my former colleagues and the current members of the department that can't speak up, because he has not taken that leadership role that he should. He ran on the platform that he was a retired police captain. That's true that he was a retired police captain, but he certainly is not doing what he should be doing. So I don't have that much faith in him. So I just wanted to know that. Eric Adams has everything going for him. He's got the swagger. He's a great looking guy. He's amiable when you meet him. He's dressed great. He's got the star power to turn the city around. He's got to just get rid of all that obsession in the judicial system and in most of the political power in New York. They are obsessed with taking down the other side, whoever that is. It ain't just Donald Trump. It's anybody who's the other side. And he's got it in the palm of his hand to change the city. And if he did that, this guy could run for president.
but I don't know what they're afraid of. I don't know what they're like afraid of each other. I know a lot of these people, and I'll tell you frankly, while we're talking locally on WABC, I get my conservative friends mad on the radio, but this James is great. She is so fun to be with. She's really a great gal. I don't know what happens when they get into power. They forget what to do. It's like, stop with the politics. Just bring law and order back to New York. You can do it. How long would it take? Maybe 1, 2, 3 months tops for you guys to turn it around, and not in a mean way, not in a tough way. You just change the laws. Hochul fires Alvin Bragg. You just clean it all up. It's so easy, guys, and it hurts because we all love New York.
Sure.
We all love New York, man, and we know how to change it. But no one's listening on the city council except for Joe Borelli and a few others. And it's disappointing because it's a beautiful city. And you think it's too late, Captain? I hope it's not too late, my friend.
I think it is. Adams does not show the backbone that he's supposed to show. That's what's disappointing. He does not show leadership. The people in the department have no faith in him. And I don't think he's the right person for the job. I agree with you. He looks good. He has charisma. I've met him. But he does not have the experience. When he was in transit, he was working on computers. He never was really a street cop. And when he came over to the police department, he made a lot of problems. He created this group called 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement, and all they did was attack the police department over racism. So he made a lot of enemies in the department. So I don't really have that much faith in him. But one of the things,
Joe, I'm trying to take the positive line here. I'm trying to be a good politician here. I don't think
good
I'm
cop,
winning.
good cop, bad cop.
Now, New Jersey wanted you to run for governor a few years back. Would you do that would you run for governor if you were asked?
In New York. In New York.
Yeah, well, if I lived in New York, I'll tell you, no disrespect to Governor Hochul, but boy, we need Lee Zeldin now. Lee is a good guy. He would have been the guy. They asked me years ago to run before Governor Murphy went in, and I stepped aside because my poll numbers were great, but I didn't want to, clash with the Republicans. And I'm more an independent. I'm an independent now. And right now, you got a lot of good people running in Jersey. But the problem is, I would go in now because I love the state. I would talk about New Jersey. I love the state enough. I love the people. You need people like in New York, you need people who are New Yorkers. In Jersey, you need people who dig the state, understand the state, who are brought up in the state, not who come from outside, and not that this is what happens. When these guys get into office now, I'm an old Democrat. I'm an old Essex County, New Jersey Democrat. Now, it's like they take, what's the mantra? Oh, the wokeness. Girls should let boys into the locker rooms. All these bizarre. There's multiple genders. All those things. It's like, what does the party become? What does the Democratic Party become? So I'd love to go as an independent, just rip it up, go and say what I want, and just deal with it. I really would enjoy that. So you never know. I mean, there's still time. I'm old, but I ain't that old, Captain. Not yet.
You got piss and vinegar, man. I mean, like you still have the spirit of Jersey and New York. Coming out of you at full speed.
We'll support you. Joe wants to talk to you about your show business career. If you have time.
Yeah, but I want to respect your schedule. There's a lot I want to ask you, but I know you got to run. Well, actually, just one quick thing. So, look, you in your life, you've met everybody. Everybody from the suites to the streets. All walks of life. Who's the single most memorable person out of all these people you've met? Like, who stands out the most over the span of the decades?
Hey, it's the Good Greek Spiro, and I have some exciting news. Good Greek has been awarded National Mover of the Year. You've trusted the Good Greek for decades with your family's moving and storage needs. Now Good Greek is proud to be the nation's top mover. So when it's time for you to move across town or across the country, trust America's best mover, Good Greek. Go to goodgreek.com for Good Greek, the National Mover of the Year.
Good Greek Moving and Storage, your superhero movers.
Yeah, clearly Frank Sinatra.
Okay.
And I've been honored to work with the best. Started with Eddie Murphy on Saturday Night Live. Eddie Murphy's a comic genius, great guy, hysterical. You think Eddie's funny on film? One-on-one with him, He will make you laugh. I had the best time with Eddie on Saturday Night Live. And to this day, to me, funnier than anybody. Eddie is the king of comedy, is Eddie Murphy. But it was Frank Sinatra because his demeanor and the fact that he was an Italian from North Jersey, the fact that he was the same age as my dad. They were from, both from Italy. Their parents came from Italy. And it was when I could see an Italian American like Frank Sinatra go through the struggle in Hoboken, through the racism. People forget about the racism toward Italian Americans. It was there. And so Frank Sinatra, then when I got to meet him, he was just great. He was great. And the joke goes, and it's true, he made me feel so comfortable, when somebody introduced me, he said, Joe Piscopo, Frank Sinatra. He goes, "Hey, Joe, baby, how are you?" Like that, And I said, "Hey, can I call you Frank?" He went, "No." Like that. It was great. Just he busted my chops from day one, Great guy, though. I mean, just a great guy. And that's why when we do, I'm grateful to Margot and John for allowing us to do Sundays with Sinatra, because it's not just a disc jockey show. It's not just a music show. It's a 2-hour documentary every week about the greatest of times through the music of the greatest entertainer of all time. Sundays with Sinatra.
Speaking of Sinatra, my son asked if you could sing a few lines of your Sinatra impersonation.
Yeah. Well, the thing, the way Mr. S did it, he was able to hold a note so long. And I played the song last night, Old Man River, where he would, I don't know how he did it, man. He would go, "Tote that barge, lift that bell, you get a little drunk and you land in jail."
Very nice. Hey, on this note, Ebony and Ivory.
I guess weary. He was like amazing. And I remember watching that, studying Saturday Night Live, because I had to go do the Frank Sinatra impression. And I said, "Oh my gosh, how can I do this?" So it's with great respect. We always tip the hat to Mr. Francis Albert Sinatra,
When you did Ebony and Ivory, when you did Frank with Stevie Wonder, did you write that skit? I have to say, it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life, and I could watch that thing again.
Yeah, I know. Eddie and I came up with the concept of Ebony and Ivory.
Oh my
And then,
God.
but Barry Blaustein, Dave Sheffield cleaned it up, but it was still harsh, Joe. It was harsh when it first went out, and then I was upset because my main thrust doing the Frank Sinatra impression was not to offend Frank Sinatra, out of respect for him and respect for my father. So I didn't like the sketch at first. So we softened it up. I mean, that was pretty hard, Joe. You are black and I am white.
You are blind as a bat.
No.
Oh my God.
You couldn't do it now, man. You couldn't do it now.
I know. Shh. We'll edit this out. This is it's very politically incorrect.
So true.
Great stuff, man.
All right, Joe. We know that you're pressed for time, so we want to thank you very much.
Thank you so much
for your.
You know what, Joe? Thank you, Captain. Thank you. Thanks again for your service. So when is this going to air, guys? Do we know?
Probably in about a week or so.
Yeah.
It will,
because I'm gonna support Blue Lives Matter.
Okay, with Joe.
With Joe and Pertry, and Chaz Palminteri and Gianna for their foundation. This will be after the fact, but check out Blue Lives Matter. We'll be at Don Roberto's on Staten Island on Wednesday night just to show support.
Oh, okay.
For the police stuff. And I and I love the high tech production you guys are doing here. We appreciate that very much.
well, Joe will let you know when it's ready to air.
All right, boys. Captain, thank you. Joe, great job, buddy.
Thank you, Joe.
I think you should fire Kevin. I think you got the job, buddy. Thank you, boys.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks,
Stay safe out there.
WABC Sundays with Sinatra, 6 to 8 Eastern. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Captain. God bless.
Okay.
God bless.
I want to thank everyone for tuning in to Cop Talk, and I want to take this opportunity to bless the United States and all police officers around the world who will sacrifice their time and put their lives on the line on a daily basis.